The Mexican-American War by Michelle, Nate, Talon, Matt, and Luke. There was a lot of land in the West where Native Americans and Mexicans lived. Even though they lived there, the Americans seemed to not care. They thought of the land as unoccupied and wanted to settle there, even though they were worried about other nations competing with them.
Many people had the idea that the U.S. was destined to stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. This was called Manifest Destiny.
Manifest destiny means that the growth of the United States was not only good, but bound to happen. By 1840, many Americans moved to the Oregon Territory.
President James K. Polk had been thinking about taking over Oregon for a while, and in one of his slogans he said, 54-40 or fight. Britain and the U.S. divided Oregon at the 49th degrees north. This is still the border between most of the U.S. and Canada today.
In 1846, James K. Polk had bigger troubles with Mexico. The U.S. and Mexico were fighting over Texas.
Congress admitted Texas as a slave state in 1845, when the northern states objected to having slavery spread. The Mexicans, however, still claimed Texas as part of Mexico. Also, Mexico and Texas couldn't agree on a border between them.
President Polk wanted to do everything he could to avoid war. He sent John Slidell, who was a Spanish-speaking ambassador, to offer $25 million for New Mexico, California, and Texas, but Mexico declined the offer.
Then, President James K. Polk ordered General Zachary Taylor to set up troops on the northern bank of the Rio Grande. Mexico thought of this as war, so they placed an army on the southern bank, and on April 25th, 1846, Mexico's cavalry crossed the river and killed or wounded 16 American soldiers.
Congress received a message from the president saying, Mexico has invaded our territory and shed American blood upon American soil. War was then declared 2 days later, and the Mexican-American War had officially begun.
Some Americans, however, had mixed reactions for the call of war. They questioned the need for war and the truthfulness of the message. Because of the debates over war, slavery became a big issue.
In May 1846, General Zachary Taylor led his troops to Mexico, and many of the Americans thought that defeating Mexico would be easy and the war would be over soon.
But they were wrong.
General Kearny led his troops to New Mexico, where he convinced the Mexicans he meant to leave New Mexico. That allowed him to take it over. Then he moved some of his men to Mexico and the other half to California. Also, a man by the name of John C. Fremont led a rebellion in California, where they arrested the Mexican commander of Northern California.
Is that how we won the war? By taking over California and New Mexico?
No. At around the same time, Zachary Taylor led his army of 4,800 to a ranch called Buena Vista, where he fought Santa Anna's army of 15,000, and after 2 days of fighting, he finally won.
Also, Winfield Scott led a second force from Veracruz to Mexico City, where he fought about 1,000 soldiers and 100 cadets. Mexico fell to Scott in September 1847.
On February 2nd, 1848, the war officially ended with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which he said that Texas was part of the United States and that the Rio Grande is the border between Mexico and the U.S. It also stated that New Mexico, California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and Wyoming would also be part of the U.S. The U.S. also gave Mexico $15 million and $3.25 million for claims against Mexico. All the land the U.S. bought, claimed, and fought for made the United States as big as it is today.
Our sources are mainly from the textbook.